Hello and welcome to Judy's Creations in Crochet. And today is January the 2nd, 2025. Can you believe it? The first time I'm getting to say 2025. And I was just sitting here thinking about the new year, the year changing over, and recalling back to, for those that have been here a while, do you remember when we were at the beginning of 2023 and I was explaining how that was going to be the year of Judy? And now I sit here and think that whole year's gone by and another whole year as well. And it just seems like, oh, maybe a month ago or so that I was explaining that. How time does fly. As you get older, it flies even faster. So I want to welcome everybody here today. I was remiss at not wishing everybody a very, very happy new year, and that I hope you have a wonderful new year and lots of successes. But of course, I was taping that several days ahead of the 31st. And in fact, I am sitting here now on the 31st, New Year's Eve, preparing this video for you to see on the 2nd of January. So for that reason, I have put on my sparkly, glittery poncho that I made a few years back. I haven't worn it lately. I think you can see the open rows. There are a variety of stitches in this. I don't think I followed any particular pattern. It's kind of hit and miss with what stitches I used. But I do know that I used a Stenli Cake called Soufflé Lux. I know they still carry that yarn. If they carry it in the black with all those different colors of metallic, I don't know. I haven't been on their site recently, so I can only tell you what I know it was. You'll have to check and see if they still have it. Soufflé Lux on the it's a Stenli Cake on the, what's the site name? It's not Stenli. Pleta. Pleta, pleta.bg, and you can look up the Stenli Cakes and see if they still have this. So welcome everybody once again, and to those of you that are new, I hope you will, I hope you enjoy what you see and that you will come back. Please subscribe. Apparently 15% of the people that watch my videos don't subscribe. And if you watch regularly, I really hope you would make the effort. Doesn't take much to just hit subscribe and then the bell to get all. That way you'll get everything that I do. I only come out once a week with a video, a weekly video, and once a month with the slideshow for my MAL, which is what I did 2 days ago on the 31st, the end of the month. If some of you that are watching would subscribe, you would put me over the 1600. So welcome to anybody who is new. I hope you do enjoy what you see, but a great big welcome and thank you to my returning subscribers. It's because of you that I come out with this video every week. I enjoy the interaction that we have. I appreciate your support in most of the things I do. Everything that I come out with, there is a core of you that support it all, and I do appreciate it. And now, how do we start our month? Those that have been here a while know, and you see the big gap up there. Kiki has to come and say Happy New Year as well in her January finery. Now, this particular skirt was made with latte cake, obviously, and You probably can't see it. I can just barely see it, but I would have used a mini, and there is sparkle in that blue, but the blue is combined with the latte cake, so it's not real evident that there are sparkles. Can I get a sparkle up there? I don't think so, but I can see them here. So we'll have to put her up there for next time. So this is one of the, I like some of the dresses a whole lot more than some of the others. But Kiki says, Happy New Year. Right, so I have a lot to cover today. I have a feeling I won't get to everything, and I promised I would talk about a few things. I hope I do get to doing that. I may have to leave a little of what I don't cover till next week. So I know you'll be back then to see what I have to say. So I'm going to start with kind of where I left off and really didn't finish on the last video, which was on the 31st, where I did the slideshow of all of your items for the month of December. And I did the reveal of the butterfly for January. We're doing butterflies this year. And I talked about the rules, basically, to participate in the MAL and the things that you need to do. And I left out a couple of things. First of all, I showed you the bonus butterfly, and I'm only going to put it to the side today. If you really want a nice full screen picture, there would have been one in Tuesday's video, and you can go back there and get a snapshot of the picture. And in fact, you know what? I think I will link Tuesday's video in the description box below. What I didn't do was show you my yarn, because I don't know when I will make it, but I will try to make it as an extra. I'm not going to leave out any of the months. I am going to do it as an extra to make a 13th butterfly. So of course, we have to have black. And at one point, all I could find was this. And I was going to use this as my yarn for the orange. But, you know, it's not really the best choice, just because it's variegated. And the butterfly is a solid orange. Now, if I couldn't find anything else, I would be having to use this. But I did find, well, first of all, I found a mini. And this is the perfect color, and it's sparkly. So I could maybe come up with a pattern that is a one skein pattern and put in a little bit of this color. It wouldn't be much because it's just one skein, 20 grams, 80 yards. Then I found this in my stash, and I thought maybe I can make a 2 skein item. Now this isn't as orange as this one, but it is close. And that's the other thing I want to say. I mentioned staying to the colors that are in the picture. Well, I recognize that if you see blue on your screen, the blue may be different than the blue on my screen or somebody else's screen. And I also recognize that we'll never 100% have that exact shade of, and I'm using blue as an example. I may not ever come up with the exact shade of orange that's in the monarch butterfly, but that is orange. It's called mandarin. And if I can't get a larger skein of this color, and I am looking for one, then I will use this one. So these are the two I'm keeping in the bag, the two big ones and the small one. And I have made an order of another orange, and will keep my eyes open for it. And when you put those two colors together, what do you think? I think Halloween. So likely I'll be making something that fits Halloween in the fall with these. So I have time to get maybe a better color of orange. That was the first thing that I neglected to do because I ran out of time, and I even said, I don't have time to show it. I'll do it next week. There is one other thing I want to say to add into the rules that I forgot to say last week, 2 days ago. And that is, you must make the item in the month that you see those colors. I expect it's called a make along. So we are all making something at the same time in that month with those colors. And I know that almost all of you do that. But I think sometimes I've had a feeling that people have gone into their stash of finished items and pulled out something. And you know that's not the purpose of a make-along. You must make the item at that time. And that's all I want to say about it. I want to move on because I have so many other things to touch on. So the first thing I want to talk about is I set some goals last year at this time, and I thought I would take a look at those goals and see how well I did, and then set some goals for this year, 2025. Now, the first goal at the top of my list was to shop my stash. And I think I did a pretty good job of that, because if you listened to my last video last week, when I did a recap of what I have made for the year 2024, you will have heard that I said, I think I made 59 and it ended up being 60 because I got another one finished last week. Out of 60 items, I had 48 of them that had been made with stash, with items from my stash. I'm very, very dry today. Hopefully I don't have to keep taking a drink. I think 48 out of 60, that's 80% of the items I made were completely from my stash. There might have been 1 or 2 items that I used 2 yarns and 1 was stash and 1 wasn't. And I think I would have not counted that completely in my stash. So I think shopping my stash went well last year. And I'll say that later. The next item was to continue on my cross stitch. At the beginning of the year, I'm going to try and find a picture. I'm pretty sure I have a picture of what it looked like last year at this time, and I'll flash it up here if I can find it. And at the beginning of the year, I was really gung-ho on working on that cross stitch, and I made quite a bit of progress. I don't know what happened. I got to a point where I don't know if I lost interest or I got too busy or I just wasn't thinking about it, and I didn't keep it going all year. I have a picture that I took today that shows my progress. I did make progress, but when I was busy at it last January, I was thinking, this is going well. And I started planning out what I could get done. And my thought was I could get really close to the very end of it by now. I lost my momentum. I cannot say it is because of my extra responsibilities with Rose, because I lost my momentum with that cross stitch probably by February. I didn't keep going for very long, and then I lost my focus on it. So I didn't do real well there. I did make some progress, but not a lot. So I can't say that I'm mark high there. The next goal I had was to make sweaters. I wanted to make, half a dozen sweaters. I think I made 1. I should have went back through my app and counted them up. But I can only recall one that I made last year. So, okay, I did make a sweater, but I wanted to make a lot of sweaters. Didn't do well there. I wanted to learn a new technique. I guess I did learn one new thing, and that was how to do corner to corner. I'd never done that before. I don't know if you call that a technique or a stitch. I did do that, but nothing major. I didn't learn anything major. And the other thing was that I really wanted to focus on recording projects that I made. Now, I record in Ravelry when I do a pattern that I purchased in Ravelry, because I want to do a project page there to add to the designer's page. I think that's something we should all do. If we buy something that is in Ravelry, even if we got it free on their blog, and a lot of them have patterns in Ravelry and say, you can get it free on my blog, and I understand why you would do that. It is a little harder because it's, you know, all this other stuff, ads and everything in the middle of it. But we don't always want to put out a lot of money on the patterns, the cost mounts. And when you do 60 in a year, that's a lot of patterns. But even if you get the pattern free and they have it on Ravelry, I would go into Ravelry and create a project page and put your pictures there and maybe tell what yarn you used, because it is helpful to people. In fact, if you look at some of them, you'll say where they had a problem with a certain stitch or a problem with the pattern and they adjusted, and that is helpful. So I do keep up Ravelry patterns on Ravelry. I don't always put all the notes. I put pictures. I put my starting and finish date, my hook size for sure. Any other notes? Maybe, maybe not. The yarn I used, I try to, but not always. I do, though, keep absolutely every project I make in the app that I told you about just this fall. I'm going to put a picture here again of the what would be the front page of the app partway through the year when I have it full of projects. You'll see a picture of it. And I kept every single project on that page. So I definitely did a good job of recording my projects. And that app is called Pocket Crochet. I heard of another one. I wanted to try it. Somebody said something good about it. I went and got it. Well, first of all, you get the app. You're allowed to put one project in it. Then you got to pay for it. Well, I object to that. No, thank you. Most of the apps make money by putting ads in it. So why do you pay for it? Anyway, I wasn't about to buy another app when I had a perfectly good one. I don't have to pay for it. You can pay for extras to do other things with that app. I just don't need to do those things, and I can keep a record. And there is a limit. I'm sure I'll come to an end of a limit, and then I may have to get rid of my archives. I don't know. But right now, it's working fine. So, what about goals for next year? Well, I quite like the goals I set for this year. I definitely want to continue shopping my stash. And will I do absolutely every project from my stash? Not likely, but I've already told you I am not going to be doing much shopping of yarn this year. Maybe I should put a goal to not shop, but I know that's a goal I can't keep. I know I will see yarn here and there that I really like, especially on EFA, although I have already drastically cut my shopping from EFA. I don't think I've bought anything from EFA in the last maybe 2 months, month and a half anyway. I do have a couple orders coming from them. There was one yarn I just absolutely had to get. But I tried to do a purchase during their end of the year sale. I have a feeling it's not going to happen because this is the last day of the year when I'm taping. There is something I really want, but their shipping is haywire right now. Apparently, Canada is not accepting shipments from the US, and so they have no way to process the order because they don't have the shipping information, and so they came up with their own algorithm to show shipping, and they want you to pay the shipping ahead, and if it's wrong, they'll refund the difference. Well, I had an order in my cart a week ago or so that the shipping would have probably been $26 and change, and the shipping come out $77. Well, I'm not paying $77 shipping. And they said they'd refund the difference. But you may not be aware that we pay shipping, we pay on the US dollar at one rate, but when the US goes back to the Canadian, it's done at a different rate. And EFA refunded me on a shipping problem back in November when the exchange rate was lower, and they refunded me $10. While what I paid on the $10 and what they gave me on the $10 had a $2 to $3, somewhere to something difference. I lost $2 and something on that transaction. Well, I'm not going to complain. $2 doesn't break me. But if it's $50 different, that's quite a bit of difference. I'm not going to do it. Why should I pay $50 extra? And when they refund me that $50, it ends up costing me $15, 15 extra dollars to take advantage of the sale. I think I probably won't make the order. Some of the yarn I really don't need. Some of the yarn I really want for my blanket, which I'll talk about later. Anyway, I have reduced my shopping drastically. I do all of it in Canada, and I'm not going searching right now. See all this yarn? And there's more there, and you did see a bunch over there last month. I have so much yarn, 3 people could shop from my stash, and maybe by the end of the year, we'd make a dent in it. I need to shop my stash because I have some beautiful, beautiful yarn that I am never getting to because I keep buying more beautiful yarn. I'm not saying I won't buy anything, but it would have to be very special. So I'm going to shop my stash. The next was continue on my cross stitch. I'm leaving that on my goals for this year to encourage me to get back to it. I probably won't get a lot done, but if I keep it on my list, it'll be there for me to look at and hopefully slowly make some progress and eventually maybe finish this picture. I want to get it finished and up on the wall while I'm still alive and have some years to enjoy it. So I have to get busy at that. Now, the goal to make sweaters, yes, I want to make some sweaters, but I'm going to take it off my list of goals. It's something that I hope I do make, but I'll make them or not make them as the mood, hits me, and I see a pattern I really want, and you'll see more about sweaters in a little bit. Do I want to learn a new technique? Yes, I definitely do want to learn a new technique, and I've picked a pattern, maybe even more than one, that would maybe force me to learn mosaic. I really, really do want to try my hand at mosaic. I'm told it's not that hard and it can be beautiful. And I want to get at least one item with mosaic. So I'm keeping that on my goal for this year. Besides, as a teacher and a lifelong learner, I believe we should never stop learning. And so learning a new technique is up there on my list. And I guess it's a goal, although it's now part of my being, is keeping record of my projects. I definitely have a goal to keep record of every single project and to keep all of the ones in Ravelry that I need to. Most of them do come from Ravelry, but I do some tutorials from YouTube that aren't on Ravelry. So I'm definitely keeping that. And in fact, I have already started 3 new projects. Can you believe this? I've started 3 projects and I worked at all 3 this past week. One of them I'm going to put aside for till later in the month to work on it a little bit more. One of them is I started last night on the MAL for January. And of course, I started on the blanket that I'm going to be making, and it's going to take me all year. And who knows, it might take me more than a year, but I did start on it because I'm wanting to do kind of a sample to see how much yarn I use and what the colors look like. And I'll talk more about the blanket later. But I've started 3 and I've recorded all 3 in my Pocket app. I think I might have recorded them in Ravelry too. I can't swear to that. So goals for this year: shop my stash, keep working on my cross stitch, learn a new technique, specifically probably mosaic this year, although I'm also looking at projects where 2 projects, particularly where you do short rows, and I've never really done a project with short rows, so that might be the other item, and continue with recording my projects. I think those are goals I can achieve. Those are enough goals for this year. I can't think of some other important goal, so I'm going to leave it at that. Okay, so next thing I want to talk about is not the goals for this year, but some of my plans. And I'm going to keep this part brief because I don't have a lot of information about each of them. But I do have a couple of plans. I'm sure I'll make more, but I do have a couple of plans. And as you know, one of them is to work on a blanket. And I will talk about that more if there is time. Okay, that's the item that I don't know if I'll have enough time. Another plan is to do a winter MAL. As you recall, last year I did a winter MAL in collaboration with Gina. And lots of you are wondering, and Gina is doing better. I don't know if she's watching this video or not. She said she did try to watch some of my Advent videos, but her eyes still are not back to where they should be. They are improving, but the glare or whatever it is that comes off of iPads and other devices are still too much for her. And so she is, if any of you've been on Instagram, you've seen a shawl she just made. She was able to knit a shawl this fall, but she's not back to being on devices and making videos. We had started plans to do one this year, and then when I realized she was not maybe going to be able to, I sort of canceled the plans. And then a friend said she would be happy to do it with me. And as you know, I'm friends with Diane from My Pink Bathtub, and she is a knitter. She's trying to learn to crochet right now, but she's a knitter. So we have decided to go ahead and do another winter MAL with a pattern that we could get a crochet and a knitted version that are almost the same. Here we go again. I really apologize for stopping to take a drink so often, but I'm so dry. Anyway, so we will be doing a MAL together. And some of you may have received notification. I was trying to figure out how to use StreamYard, and I did go in and set a date and do some of the graphics for a thumbnail, and somehow in booking it for a date, it sent out notifications. And that's the part I wasn't aware of. So if you get all of my notifications, you got notification of that video. We are going to do a live video on February the 15th. That's all I'm going to say about that, because Diane and I need to sit down and work out some logistics about the whole thing. But on February the 15th, which I believe is a Saturday, I would have picked a weekend day, we will be doing a live on my channel and discussing the MAL that we're going to be working on. That's all I want to say, but I really, really hope you will mark your calendar for February the 15th, and I will say more about it when time gets closer, and we'll be talking about the winter MAL that we're going to do. Now, I usually do a summer MAL or CAL. I do a crochet along in the summer, and I'm hoping to do one again, but haven't any real plans. But what I do know I will be doing at some point is a collaboration with Lynanne from Nina's Knots. She said that she is going to work on the Riptide this year. And I don't know how many of you remember. You're going to hear more about the Riptide in a few minutes. But I don't know how many of you remember that I had the Riptide on my to-do list last year. And I was waiting for the yarn that my brother had in Florida. I was waiting to get it to then get busy on it in the summer. Well, first of all my plans went haywire after the end of May. So although I wanted to make that, I never got to it because it takes a little bit of work to organize it. It takes a fair bit of yarn, and it has a new technique in it, which is the short rows for me. So it just went to the back burner. And I said, I want to work on it this year, and you'll see that in a minute. And when Lynanne showed it, I said, well, do you want to do something together? And she was happy to do something together. Now, whether we'll do a crochet along or whether we'll do something else, I don't know. It won't be until after the make along that I'm doing in the winter. So April will be the earliest you'll see it. And it might even be later than that. I don't know. I haven't had a discussion with Lynanne. I hope to have that discussion maybe in the coming week or two. But I will be working with Lynanne on that in some fashion. I would like to think about doing a summer crochet along. That's my thought, but I don't know. So those are a couple of things that I have planned for this coming year. I also decided to do a Make 9 again this year. Well, let's talk about Make 9. 2 years ago, I did a Make 9 and I showed it to you, and I had 9 projects on it I wanted to do. And I believe, accomplished 6 of the 9 patterns on that board. For some reason last year I thought, well, I didn't do a very good job, but 6 out of 9 isn't too bad. But I thought maybe instead of 9 projects, I would do a Make 9 with 9 skeins or different collections of yarn. I thought maybe just having the yarn might be easier to accomplish. I was wrong. The box is sitting over there in the corner, and I could go and get it. There's no point to showing you, but I only used 3 of the yarns that were in that box. And I had ideas for at least 1, if not 2 of those yarns. Well, I'm going to excuse myself again because of my situation this past year. But I mean, I accomplished almost 60 items. Why couldn't I have used that yarn? I don't know. I really don't know. But I think because the yarns are more abstract than a specific pattern, maybe that's why. Maybe I needed something specific to focus on to do. But I'm going to, one more time, do a make 9. And this time, the make 9 is going to be specific patterns I want to do. So I have a queue in Ravelry, as many of you do, and my queue is so long, and I just put patterns there that I see and I think, I really, it's more than a favorite. The favorites I keep as collections to look back to when I decide I want to make a shawl, or I want to make something with 2 colors, or so I have, I have a file or a bunch that I can go and look at to choose from. But a queue is something that really is a pattern you want to make. So I went down my queue and I went through a few others, and I pulled out patterns that really spoke to me, and I put them in a file. Well, 25 patterns in this file that I really want to make. And in a year, I could make those 25 things if they fit with the yarn I have, or if they fit in one of my MALs. Every month, I can go and look at that file and pick something, hopefully, out to make for my monthly MAL. But I had to scale back and come up with make 9. And I did. Actually 10, but it's 9. And I made a make 9, and I'm going to show you pattern by pattern the 9 I picked, and just one comment about what made me pick it. So these are the 9. They are not in any particular order. They just came out of the big master list, and I went down it and picked 9 as I went. The first one is called the Abigail Shawl. Here's the picture. It is a pattern by Bonnie Bay. Got something in my eye. Sorry, it comes from Bonnie Bay on YouTube. It's Bonnie Barker is the name of the designer. And I have wanted to do this for quite a little while. And she is really known for her Celtic designs and cable work. This looks like sort of a first step into doing cable. That may be my other new thing I learned this year. But I'm going to try that shawl, and then I'm hoping later I'll do something else with more cable than that. So that's number 1. Number 2 is Cacophony. I hope I'm saying that right. And it's by Margot Bauman. Now, first of all, the color attracted me. But second of all, I thought, what a unique shape. And I'm all into gathering up things that have something unique about them. And you're going to see another one in a minute. But that looked very unique, and I like the shape of it. I think I will use black and something as a nice contrast. I'm sure I can find something. It won't be the exact same colors as hers, but I think I can find something that would be stunning. Next, number 3 is called the Fan Lace Scarf. Again, this is unique in its shape. By the way, Cacophony can be found on Ravelry. Fan Lace Scarf is Hooked by Robin. It can be found on Ravelry if you want to purchase the pattern. But she does a YouTube tutorial on it. And I just, I don't know, I was intrigued by the look of it. I thought it looked very different and unique. I like that kind of thing. And I watched the tutorial, and I don't think it's all that hard. And I think I might be able to use a yarn like Unforgettable, Red Heart Unforgettable, or Lion Brand Landscape. They're basically the same. And I have other yarns that are the same. They're very color changing. And it's a good way to use those busy color changing yarns. So that's number 3. Number 4, I'm going to show you 2 that are basically the same style of pattern. The first one is called Quoit, Quoit, by Diane Benstead. And the second one is Crochet Your Fade by Julem Conradi. Now these are both similar to the one I did this fall, or maybe it's last summer, called Ad Fade. And I told myself I wanted to do one more in that style, but I wanted to use a different designer just to see if they do it exactly the same, or if there are different ways to get that same look. I can post a picture of the Ad Fade shawl I made in the blues and greens, you will recall it. And I'm going to do one of those 2 that I just mentioned, but I only put one of them, the Quoit one, on my Make 9 page. Number 5 is Riptide. I definitely want to do it. I think it's different as well in its shape and the fact that you do the short rows. So that'll be something new for me also, is the short rows. And it's by Mariana Mueller. I did a focus on her designs this past year. I think it was last spring or early summer. And I've wanted to do it for a while, so it's definitely on my Make 9 this year. And as I said, Lynanne and I are both going to be doing it, so that one will get done. Next one is the Woven Overlay Scarf, again by Hooked by Robin. Again, it can be found in Ravelry, but she does, I think, if I recall correctly, there is a YouTube tutorial. She does most of hers in YouTube tutorials. I thought it would be a little different scarf, a little easier, again, a new technique of weaving that I could do in probably an acrylic and put it in my donation pile, because, you know, I do have a lot of acrylics and I need to use some of them as well, although hand-dyed is taking over things. But I'm trying to do things that are new for me so that I can participate as often as possible in Kathy's monthly mail. Next, we have Sunset. This is a pattern by Katarina Designs, and it is a bat wing sweater. And this has been on my I want to do this list. And here is a sweater that I hopefully will get done. And I do have a few other sweaters on the rest of the list that never made the Make 9. This is unique in, of course, bat wings. You will find several patterns, but she starts at the cuff and works around up the sleeve. So you're working back and forth. You don't make this, you don't join it. You work back and forth, but you start at the cuff, you work up here, widening the wing, the sleeve. Then she shows you how to do the body of it, and you leave a space for the head and neck, and then you keep going, and then you work down. And she has a YouTube tutorial, and I watched most of it, and it is pretty straightforward. And I have the yarn that I want to use for that particular sweater. And when you're all done, you sew up the seam under the arms and down the side on both sides. And I really want to give this a try. It's the one sweater I'm 100% sure I'm going to get done this year, and maybe even during the winter. And the final one I have on my list is the Lune shawl by Expression Fiber Arts. You cannot buy any of their patterns on Ravelry. You have to go on their site and buy their patterns. But I have to tell you, people, you should be signed up to their newsletter, because I got that pattern for free. Every Friday, they come out with a free pattern. and they try to alternate crochet and knit. So there's something for knitters, there's something for crocheters. If you do both, you get a free pattern every week, and you only have to go through the process of pretend buying it. You have to go through that process for them to get it into your email, and right away after you purchase it, there's a link to download it, and I save it in another file. Although it's always in your orders are always there in your account page. And you can get so many free patterns, so many wonderful patterns. And this past year, they upped it in crochet. I think they've added crochet designers to their list of people that design for them. And I have downloaded several shawls of theirs. In fact, I started 2 this fall and didn't get to them. But this one is one I want to be sure to do because it is made with Twisted Tweed Sport. And I really, really like their Twisted Tweed Sport. And I'll show you why. First of all, it's 2 colors twisted together, and it's 2 different yarn. Well, it's actually 3 different yarns that take the dye differently, and they're twisted together, and it's sport, so it is a little bit heavier than fingering, and it is very, I mean, I have had softer yarns, but it is soft. It just feels to me like it'll be a warm and cozy yarn. And I have plans to make a sweater with this yarn, but I didn't put it on my list. I didn't put it on my goals. It'll get done when it gets done. But I thought I want to make at least one shawl of their list of shawls that I love. And it looked like a fairly straightforward one that uses, I don't know if it's 3 or 4 different skeins, different colors. So I can play with, as you can see, I have lots in that cubby. I can play with the yarns and come up with 4 colors that I like to make this shawl that has a variety of stitches in it. It just looked like it was easy, straightforward, would use a yarn I like and haven't used much of, and would be cozy. And it may be one of the first things I make from this list. So that's my Make 9 list. I'm going to actually put the picture of my Make 9 up here to fill the screen. Okay, so that's what I'm going to keep in front of me this year. I have the list on the paper, and I'm going to keep it nearby. And when I'm not sure what to make, it's going to be something from this list. I'm hoping that I get all 9 of these done for sure. Maybe a few more that are on my list farther down, but these 9, I really hope I make good headway on accomplishing those 9. So we have a teeny bit more time. I have an acquisition, but I'm going to leave the acquisition for next week. It's not going anywhere. The other thing that I said I would talk about today, and I didn't bring the yarn with me, but I will talk about it a little bit, and that is the blanket. Some of you commented and asked questions and so on. You want up there? You can get up there. I have definitely decided that I am making the blanket that is called Little Squares blanket. I'll put a picture of it up here. Now, before I get into any big discussion about it, I also wanted to mention this. There is a similar pattern called Little Squares Knitted Blanket, and I'll put it up here. And you can see how similar they look. Same premise, same finished look. I'm sure you make your panels and your squares a little bit differently. It may be that it is all knitted, no purl at all. I don't know if that's called stockinette or garter. I never have known. Anyhow, in the crochet version, it is the moss stitch. And the moss stitch is one of my favorite stitches. I really want that nice closed knit look in my blanket. I want something that is very cozy and cuddly. I want something that's colorful. How big I'll make it, I have not yet decided. I am right now, I told you I started it, I'm right now making one strip of the plain color. I wanted to see how much yarn it takes to make one strip. Then I can figure out how much yarn it will take and do I have enough. That may determine the color I ultimately use. And I'm going to do one strip, not even a whole strip, but within the next week or so, I'm going to do a partial strip where I alternate the color with my minis. First of all, I realized that I have way more minis than I will need, way more colors than I will need. Yeah, you just sit there, okay? Be a good boy. He's sitting on the chair beside me. I didn't want him in my lap making a mess today. So he's gently reaching out. He wants his chin rubbed. Anyhow, I want to figure out how many of those little squares can I make from one skein, one mini skein. Then I'll know how many of the mini skeins I need. Because, like I said, I have 23, I believe, 20. I think I started with 25 from last year, and I'll have another 25 this year. It might be 24. I'm not sure. But I will have way more than enough because I suspect I can make 5 or 6, maybe even 7 with some skeins out of one mini skein, because I weighed the mini skeins. I had one that was 20 grams and all the rest, well, there was 1 or 2 that were 21 and the rest were 22. So if it takes 3 grams, which looks like it might take 3 or 4 grams to make one little square, I'll be able to make a lot of squares from each one. So I won't be needing all of those minis. So I thought, well, I'll pick out some of my favorites, and I want to talk about one other thing I've decided. You're going to say, why did you bother to ask? I've decided that I probably won't use the white for this blanket, even though everybody advised white. But I'll tell you my thinking, and I thought about it a long time. First of all, your reason for the white was said it'll make the colors pop. Well, these colors, first of all, aren't bright colors. Second of all, I don't need bright, I don't need pop in the blanket that I'm going to be snuggling in my chair when I crochet or watch my iPad. I want something serviceable, and white is going to get dirty, especially given that I have cats that crawl all over me when I'm in that chair. And I decided I wanted something more muted and more subtle, I guess, more peaceful feeling. And so I've decided this. I probably have enough yarn to make 2 blankets or a blanket and something else. So I'm going to make a blanket using, probably, because I'm trying that out right now, gray, but I have to get another skein, I'm almost sure. I don't know yet. And right now they don't have that color on their site, but it is a common color and they're likely to come back with it, or I can ask. Probably going to use gray in the blanket, and then I'm going to use what's left of the minis and maybe add some other minis that I already have, because I have one whole box of sparkle minis, and some of them are variegated and speckled. And I thought I'll combine it with white, because I will want the colors to pop, and I'll make strips. And I'm going to probably be a year from now or more, I'm going to try to make a sweater out of those strips. I can make a back really easy. I can lay them out on a sweater, possibly a cardigan that I can wear over anything because of all the colors. So I probably am going to make 2 items, but this blanket is going to take a bit of time, and I won't be able to proceed in the colorful part until I see what I get in July. So I'm going to make the long solid strips, and I will make a couple of the colored strips, but I won't make them all before July. Well, you know, am I going to get as much done as I think before July? I don't know. Maybe I should work on this make 9 list in the spring, and the blanket more in the summer. So that's my plan with the blanket. And I told you about the knitted one, and I've given you the name and the designer, because I was thinking at this time of the year, a lot of us are clearing out our stash, and they're making plans for the new year. And some of you did get Advents and are wondering what to do. And I thought I would just encourage you to look at these 2 patterns, the crochet and the knitted one, as a possibility of a way to use up the Advents you may have gotten, or if you're clearing out your room, your sewing room, your stash room, and you have a lot of leftover scraps, those little squares don't take very big. I mean, I have these leftovers from 2 shawls I did in December, and if they take 3 grams, these would each make 2 squares. If they take 4, I think there's only 7 grams in each of these. But I wouldn't be surprised if they made 2 squares. I should try. But anyway, I have somebody that's going to get these. It may be something you could think of working on throughout the year. I will be showing you my progress. Probably next week I'll show you 1 strip done. And maybe you want to sort of work along with me throughout the year. If you're a person that has one project that they work on a little bit at a time when they have small amounts of time and isn't something you want to get done right away, you're working on other things at the same time, maybe you would like to join me in crocheting or knitting this particular blanket throughout the year, and we will see what you come up with and what we all make. Or maybe you want to use that pattern like I'm going to and make something different. Maybe you'll make a lapgan, maybe you'll make a scarf, maybe you'll make a sweater, some other thing using this idea. I would love to have some of you join me in using this pattern and seeing what we all come up with. I think that would be a fun thing to do. Also, before I meant to do this when I was talking about the Riptide. The Riptide is something, like I said, Lynanne and I are going to work on. And I would like to know, because I'm not sure about this pattern, I would like to know what level of a crochet, I'm only asking the crocheters because it's a crochet pattern. I would like to know what level your skills are. Are you really new to crochet? Are you just learning or only done a few and consider yourself quite a beginner or novice? Are you more of an advanced crocheter? You've done quite a bit, but you're trying to improve your skills. Are you an intermediate, an advanced beginner? Are you an advanced beginner? Or are you an intermediate crocheter? You feel quite confident about your skills? Or are you an advanced crocheter that you've tried most different techniques and complicated things and feel quite confident in your skills. I really, I can't say this enough. I really would like for you to just say beginner, advanced beginner, intermediate, or advanced crocheter in the comments below. I really would like to know what you consider your skill level is in crochet. And I have one other thing I want to do this year. I have found that most of you really enjoy the slideshows. And I thought I might do a couple more throughout the year. Maybe one per season, maybe every other month. I'm not really sure. We'll see how this goes. But I thought I would give you a very short space of time. You are not going to go make something. I would like for you to be able to show off something you are very proud of. So if you would like, while we're at the beginning of the year, cleaning up our yarn rooms, I see some of you have gotten Christmas presents of things for yarn to redo your yarn. I know some of you are using this holiday time to clear out and organize and make yarn rooms. I've seen a few of those. And maybe in all of the clearing out, getting the yarn organized, and probably pulling out many finished projects that, for me, I have a lot of finished projects simply sitting there in a storage bag or hanging in a storage unit. And I would like for you to go through whatever stash of items you might have and pull out the item that you are most proud of. The one thing you finished that really made you feel good, or that you got a lot of compliments over, or it was something where you tried something new and you were really pleased that you could do this new technique. I'm only looking for one. I was going to take more than one, but I'm only looking for one because if this goes over well, I'll do it again throughout the year. And I'm thinking that I'm going to give you 2 weeks. So today is January the 2nd. By January the 16th, and I'll remind you on the 16th, it's a video day. By January the 16th, I would like you to send your picture to me. And please, in the subject line, put, what will we put? Special item. Just put that. Special item. I'll write that down. Special item. I'll know to put it in a different file of items that you are proud of, that is something special to you. And it might have, it's special to you because it has a significance of who you made it for or why you made it. And you might not even still have it, but hopefully you took a picture. Or you know the person that has it and will allow you to take a picture. But you have 2 weeks to get me a picture of an item that you are particularly proud of. I need your name, all the usual things, your name, where you're from, the pattern name, and if you designed it yourself or came up with it yourself, that's even more reason to be proud of it, and the designer's name. Because I know we're going to see some beautiful items and people are going to want to probably make them when they see them. So knowing, now if it's your own design, that's great. But if it's, you know, a design you followed, then where you got it would also be helpful to us. So I am going to do a slideshow. If you get them all to me by the 16th, probably the following week on the 23rd, I'm going to show all of your beautiful makes. I've also decided that on the Thursday, the 30th of the month, I am going to do the slideshow of the MAL rather than the 31st. I just don't think doing two, like Thursday and again Friday, is something that I'm up to doing right yet, because Thursday is a day that I take Rose out for therapy at the hospital, and that's a big job. So I'm going to combine the monthly MAL with the weekly show on the last day of the month. And there's an added benefit to this. Because I'm doing it a day early, it gives you one more day, because February is a short month. So with February being short, you lose days at the end. So I'm going to give you one more day at the beginning to have time to make an item for February, but that's another month. I'm just warning you, your items will come to me on the 27th, as I said on my last video, and the video will be on the 30th of the month. So if you have something really special you want to show off, I am so looking forward to seeing these. Please send them to me. You have 2 weeks to get them to me. The 16th of January is the deadline. Won't be able to give you any extra time. I will have to get that video made early because it will go on my regular show and it takes a lot of pre-planning. So I think I covered a lot today. I wasn't sure I would get to much talk about the blanket, but we will talk more about the blanket probably next week. So, in the meantime, happy hooking.